Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Greetings and salutations to you all. I am Big Meach, and this here is a Big Meach moment. I want to come before you because, again, this is starting to nestle in the spirit as I am just hearing this for the first time, and I see that this has made the headways in the news within the last couple of days, but I want to share some light on something. And it seems as though people are getting hot-headed and have been really, really, really on the attack of Dave Chappelle because of a video that had gone viral or something about him being at the city county meetings and carrying on, and his stance on a particular project that they were doing regarding affordable housing. And what happened, it seems as though his comments, I believe, were taken out of context because everyone did not have the full picture. But listening to the broadcast and things, it seems as though he was part of the elite, and he's in the process of buying one of the old firehouses there in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And he wants to create and build a comedy store there, not a store, but a comedy club, and redo this whole fire station and everything, so it could be this new little club, and it would be wonderful for the tourism there for Yellow Springs. Well, according to what these plans are, he decided that if they decide to go ahead with the project as it is, that he was going to pull his offer off the table and no longer be involved with bringing this facility to Yellow Springs, Ohio. And it seems as though, those who have seen these comments and carrying on all across, I guess, Twitter and Instagram and everything, everybody been blowing them up. And, really just jumping the gun and not understanding a few things. And I wanted to come in and weigh in on this just for a second, because having dealt with the economic development department of a city government, I know a little bit about the ins and outs of how this thing works. As a matter of fact, we had something similar go on here. And it wasn't that we had an investor threatening to pull the project off the table. What it was is that we decided that, well, I won't say decided, because we ended up still, the project still got a green light. But what happened was the original idea that we were going with, we had to really, 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 really flush it out. And what happened, according to Dave's team, they were saying that the reason why they were against the project is because when they got into the details of it, they said this was going to be affordable housing. And it ended up becoming mixed use development, which means that in a mixed use development project, this is where they take a percentage of the, let's say that they're going to do 200 houses, okay? And if they're going to do 200 houses, okay, or units, okay, oftentimes they will say this is going to be a mixed development, okay, a mixed use development. And usually what that means is, when we thinking that we're going to do single family homes, and according to the acreage or whatever, you're going to get X amount of homes according to the amount of land that you have. Well, then the thing will become, oh, we'll do a mixed development project. So what that means is they're trying to double up on the thing. So they're going to do duplexes, townhouses, and condos and that kind of thing. And then here's what happens. You say it's supposed to be affordable housing. Well, if you're doing 200 units, affordable housing by law, well, that depends on the state, they're going to give you maybe 30% of the units that are going to be affordable housing. Okay, so let's take the number 200. Okay, So what is 1/3 of 200? Okay. Hmm? 1/3 of 200. All right. That's going to be about maybe 30. Let me make sure I get that right. Let me get my calculator here because usually I have that in my head. 1/3. I say we're going to times that by 0.3. Okay. So that'll be 60. All right. So 60 of the units will be quote unquote affordable housing. Okay. Which means you got a whole nother 140 units that are going to be whatever that is. They may say, okay, these would be affordable. This would be workforce. Okay. And let me tell y'all something. Affordable housing and workforce housing are basically the same. But what happens is because it's workforce housing, that gives them a little leeway to charge a little bit more because workforce housing usually go for people in the community, those who live, they're trying to get you to live and work and play in the same community. So those particular workforce homes will be offered to employees and carried on of the municipality that those houses are built in. So it could be, any other city employees, whether they're working for city hall, any of the post offices, the fire, police, anything that's involved with city government. Those particular people will be able to get a discount on those particular houses because they're workforce houses and they're targeting them so they could be here in the city and live and work. Okay, so affordable housing would be those who they were the ones who may have to be have government assistance or be on some kind of plan, of like a Section 8 or some kind of a military voucher and carrying on because they're affordable housing. Okay, that would be those who are um, 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 you have a lot of those who are income-based housing because of they're on some kind of mental program or whatever. They're independent living programs and carrying on. So those would be the affordable housing. So out of 200 units, 60 of them would be put aside for quote unquote affordable housing. Okay, that's not what this is supposed to be. Okay, the plan said that this entire project was supposed to be about affordable housing. Now, according to the program, the press that came out from Chappelle's people, they're saying that the plans that they had, it was substructured. They didn't like the diagram. They did not like the so-called materials that carrying on that they're going to be using, and the time frame of it. They were not going to be able to. They didn't like what they were projecting because it didn't seem like that was going to have any kind of longevity. Okay, and of course, when you're talking about affordable housing, this is what I fight for all the time. When you look at the core of the people in your communities, okay, look at rent and stuff now. Most folks cannot afford the rent that they have right now. Why? Because it's going up. Market values go up all the time. Okay, your market value go up because you have new construction, you have new things that's being built and openings and carrying on within the radius. So because you have that means the property values have gone up or the projected property values have gone up. And you have, you say for instance, if new houses and stuff are built and you have a new structure, let's say a new firehouse, okay, or some kind of new office building that done went up in the neighborhood, right? But because that done went up, it was constructed. The property value now goes up because of the clientele that's coming in, the rent spaces that they're charging, for doctors who may not buy into it, but they may have to lease and carry on. So that goes up, and the property value goes up because now you got the new structure, you have beautification in the neighborhood and carrying on, and all of that starts to not impact the neighborhood. It become a tourist attraction. You got more traffic coming in and carrying on. So now the property itself, all the houses around there, if you got single home houses, all those property values go up because now you have an extra tax you got to pay. So now the property value goes up. So if you're living in an apartment, this is how apartment complexes always change their rates because they say, oh, well, this apartment complex, let's say if a new apartment complex was built along with the office thing, and if they're charging market rate for a 750 square foot unit, and they're charging market rate of $1,200 a unit, maybe $1,500 for rent, then everything else around here to be competitive, if you will, then they would want to go up on their rent as well because you're getting it over there. And so now the market rate will end up having all the rents and stuff to go up. Now the market rates go up, property value go up, property taxes go up, and et cetera, but paychecks don't. Okay, there was nowhere in there that the paychecks go up because everybody's still making the same amount of money. So now when we're building affordable housing, and you're saying that we want folks, because where they are, they can't live like this. Okay, we want to make sure folks are able to live and have a decent home, decent, and be able to sustain themselves. Well, honey, if all you're bringing up in here, and you're only going to give 60 families that opportunity out of building 200 houses, and only 60 are going to be afforded, how is that going to help out the community in the long run? Because basically what is going to happen is those other 140 units are going to end up increasing the market value. So now everything else around is going to start going up in prices even further. So this is not going to be affordable housing. And that is what I'm hearing Chappelle discuss. Because the project, y'all come up in here trying to do an okie doke. You said you want to do affordable housing, but now you coming up in here and threw a monkey wrench in the plan and said, no, what we gonna do is such. We gonna have this amount as affordable, but we really want to get this because now all of this is just trying to build so you can make some money. I've been dealing with this for a long piece of, well, I'm gonna say a long piece of minute, but for the 4 years that I have been dealing with city politics or whatever, this is exactly what we have been dealing with. Okay, we want to get folks who want to come out of the apartment. Hell, I'm one of them. Come out of apartment style living so that you can live in a home. I'll be 52 on March 4th. Okay, I have never had my own home. I've never purchased a home before. Okay, I've lived in wonderful houses. Most of my living as an adult has been in apartments and I've had flats, okay, and side by sides and, all of that. I've never had my own home, okay? My parents did when I was a child, but then that failed. And then when my parents divorced, we have never owned another home. We've always been in the renter seat. So now that we want to get into the place of wanting to buy and have equity in the home so that your taxes, you could use your home as leverage. Okay. You could write off certain things on your taxes because you're paying everything. The land is what this is. When you keep hearing black folks talking about generational wealth and carrying on, well, honey, your land is everything. You buy the land and buy the home, honey, that there is everything. And I want to be able to say that I've done that before I leave up out of here in the next 85 years. Okay. So having said all that, this is what we're fighting for so that folks can get the opportunity to come out of apartment living. Okay. To be able to stand on their own. And especially now, who can afford rent at $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $2,500 a month? And that's rent. That money is going into somebody else's pocket. It doesn't gain any kind of equity. If you get behind or something happened or whatever, you can't go to the landlord and say, "Ooh, can I get a little reprieve or whatever?" They're gonna want that plus a late fee, and then if you don't do all that, honey, then they're ready to kick you out. And all that money that you done paid into that house for years means absolutely not a goddamn thing. Absolutely nothing. To nobody. So you end up having to start over. And as a renter, many of us we have not looked into it that way because why? A lot of us don't want the responsibility because now if the hot water tank break or bust or whatever, you got to do that. You got to find the money to get the hot water tank together. Okay. If the little boys are playing baseball and they break your goddamn window, honey, that's coming out of your pocket. You can't call the landlord and say, oh, the window broke. Okay. If you got badass kids, honey, who like to write on the damn wall all the time and you got flat paint, you try to wash it off, you're responsible for the paint job. You're responsible for when the shutters and stuff fall on the outside and you got to get the upkeep. You're responsible if the steps, whether they cement, if they cement and they crack, you got to get those steps redone so don't nobody fall. If they wouldn't and the wood dry rot or somebody put their foot through it, you're the one that becomes responsible for all that. And that's the kind of stuff nobody wants to hear. A lot of us are afraid of that kind of responsibility. Why do you think everybody talking about, and for those of us who live in snow areas, because I'm from Detroit, you know, how everybody want to make sure that they got enough rock salt down there for that ice, because if somebody slip and fall on your property, honey, everybody quick to say, I'm gonna sue your ass. No, you can't sue me because I'm just a tenant, I'm not the landlord. But for those of us who own and you want to own the property, honey, you have to make sure that you take care of that because somebody can and will come after you. That's why your insurance and stuff have to be correct and carried on. A lot of us don't have homeowners insurance that goes and talks about liability and carrying on. Most of us just get property protection. We don't get liability insurance for that, for those particular reasons, because we don't understand it. But oftentimes, these are the things that a lot of folks don't look into. And for poor people, those who've been on some kind of public assistance, those who are on fixed incomes and carrying on, you haven't thought that far because your goal is to make sure that I sustain myself. If you have a lot of kids, you just want to make sure that the kids are safe, that you got food on the table, you got hot water, they can take a bath and carry it on, they got clean clothes, you can wash the clothes. Those are the things that you worry about primarily. A lot of us don't look into trying to buy or look down the line for the future because we don't necessarily see it, or we see it as being too expensive, and that's out of our budget. We can't afford that. I ain't got no money like that. And that's why a lot of us don't think ahead like that. Then you got those who look ahead like that and want to become landlords, but then you shitty ass landlords. Okay, you don't have the money to sit down there and to fix the property like you ought to. So you go Jimmy rig it or nigger rig it, as we like to say in the hood, get the damn crackhead or Mr. Charlie son, because he know how to drywall, to come up here and do this old shitty ass job of patchworking, and instead of fixing the problem, all you did was put a band-aid on it because it was cheap to do. Then 6 months later, you got to redo it all over again because it was piss poor from the beginning. Okay. Then you're mad at the tenants talking about, oh, they ain't paid no rent on time. No, they didn't pay their rent because you didn't do what the fuck you were supposed to do. But what happens is, I'm rambling because see, this becomes that onion. What happens is most of the time folks they take their rent and say, oh, I'm not gonna pay my rent. And instead of going to put it in an escrow account to hold it. See, this is how you do legally. Whenever you're trying to withhold your rent for the landlord to do the shit that they're supposed to do, you go down to court and you put it in escrow like you paying it, and the courts hold it. So that way, when the folks get the shit done, that money goes straight to them. You don't sit down there and spend the money like you ain't got to pay rent for that month. That's what gets a lot of people in trouble, because you done spent the money and now they done did the repairs and want their money back, or say, fuck it, I'm not doing it. They kicking you out and you ain't got no money to move. That's a whole nother subject. Okay. I'm going this particular long route because those are some of the examples of why folks do not want to become homeowners. But now, going back to the original point of Dave Chappelle, this idea that they had on the table was not an affordable housing idea the way that they laid it out. They had some bullshit in the mix, and Chappelle is like, no, this is not going to fit this community. This is the wrong fit for this community. And I just read that after they argued that point down, the people went back to the drawing board, and now they're saying that they're going to do single family homes. We'll see what flies with that, because now their economic development team, and we don't know if they have a business and industrial development authority like we do here in College Park, But whatever that is, the economic development team and mayor and council got to come up with an agreement to make sure that what they say they're going to do is what they're going to do. And depending on how many acres that they have of land, what did this article say? I think they said they had about 400 acres and maybe 20 acres of it was supposed to have been for affordable homes. I think I read that right. But whatever it is, it was a significantly less amount of acreage that the original plans was going to be dedicated to affordable homes. And that's not what the plan was. No, you're not going to sit down there and use me. Either you do this the right way, or I'm going to pour my shit out and let y'all have that. That's Chappelle's stance. And that there, I'm going to stand on him with, because no, you don't pull the okie doke on the people, especially when you sit up there saying that you're doing something that's going to help the people. How is that going to help the people? I've never understood that. We got a project going on now to where, yes, it's affordable housing, but we were thinking that we were going to get houses, not fucking townhomes and condos. We looking for single home housing. Folks want to live in a house. They don't want to go from an apartment to a condo or a townhouse, because condos and townhouses are nothing but just more expensive apartments that you can buy. A townhouse and a condo are just apartments that you buy. Okay. And then you got HOH fees. Okay. The homeowners association, which that becomes a nightmare. Because now they're going to tell you what you can and cannot do. You got to make sure you keep this and keep that. On the surface, it sounds cute, right? Because they're trying to keep the area together. And they want to have a uniform look. But most of the time, the HOHs, honey, then a lot of that shit becomes racially intimidating and things of that nature, because now they try to have this cookie cutter thing, and then they take away choices and options. I may want to plant damn gladiolas in my lawn, but you tell me because they grow too tall, I can't have gladiolas. I can only have impatiens. Okay, either New Guinea impatiens or some coitus or something. Okay, and so because of that, they limit the freedom of choices for a lot of homeowners, and a lot of homeowners don't want to pay into that. And there's a fee for the homeowners association. In addition to your taxes and stuff that you pay a homeowners association fee, which is supposed to include, they're supposed to include all of your police protections and securities and all this other little jazz that's supposed to be the conglomerate, because you're paying into it and things that's supposed to be a benefit for the city. No. Okay. It becomes a headache. So that there is that. So that's my little do-I-diddy on it. And I wanted, this was just burning in me. I did not want to let this story get so many days out and it not be covered. But this is why I wanted to bring this, because after they were saying that the project did not meet the standards, that's why. Because they threw a monkey wrench in it. Okay. They threw a monkey wrench in it. And instead of this being affordable homes, this was mixed use development that they were going to give a percentage for affordable housing. And the rest of it was going to be market rate and probably market rate. And what do they call it, the second one when it's above market rate? Premium. I think it's called premium housing. How about that? Okay. And having dealt with that, this is what I've been doing. This is why I wanted to come and make that a little clearer so folks can understand. No, that contract wasn't right. And what they're talking about building was not right. And here's the other thing. When you're talking about building in the neighborhoods, okay, you want to make sure that what you're coming up in there with, even though you say affordable housing, you want to make sure that the materials and the structure and the look of it is going to be comparable with what's already in the neighborhood, so that it doesn't distract. Because if it distracts from the neighborhood, that's what's going to have property values go down, and folks would lose their property. They would lose value in their property. So then it becomes a whole big to do. So if somebody was trying to sell or somebody passes away and the family trying to get rid of the house or whatever, it loses value because of what's in it. This is why it is important that you understand what's going on in your neighborhood. Y'all know how it is when the crack houses are there and the houses look all torn down and you wonder how come they don't come tear the damn thing down because it's blight. It's blighted and it looks bad and you got all kinds of folks. You know how it is in your neighborhood when the city don't come and cut the grass because it's all overgrown and shit, and you wonder where all these strange ass rats coming from and beavers and all kinds of wildlife that you don't even knew existed in your city. That's why if you the same way how we stay on the blight is how we got to stay when we look at development coming in. Is this going to be a perfect look, a perfect fit for our community? Because if it's out of place, it's going to look like it's out of place. How many of y'all are in places where y'all got dispensaries every goddamn where, and the dispensary look like it's out of place because it's like, where the it just look like they just threw it up, right? Just thrown it up. It don't look like nothing that belongs in the neighborhood. Or how about when you go and everything is cookie cutter? You know when they make those little strip malls or whatever, all of them look exactly the same. And that's how you know you got new development because they look exactly the same. It really don't add any value to the neighborhood because it's just a cookie cutter idea. It's flat. Okay, it's just flat. Oh, it's new, but it adds nothing to the structure and to nothing of the community. Everybody else got red bricks. We got brick. Okay, you done set up in here and bought this old sandy ass color brick up in here. Okay, that could easily get dirty. Okay, it does nothing for the community. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you have to be up on not just the blight, but you got to be up on the development as well. So that there is that. That's I feel myself about to get excited, but I just wanted to come in and give this so that you guys understand a little bit of something. And hopefully when you hear the story, that what I have shared give you a little bit of insight of how it works a little bit. Now, I know I'm in Georgia. Each state is differently, but the mechanics of what I just gave is a little bit of something. And I'm not an expert. This is what I learned just in working with economic development. I still got a lot more to learn about it, some of the insights, some of the intricacies that carried on. But just that is something that you need to look into. So don't get mad at Dave because it sounds like he being hoity-toity or he's, one of the elites that's pulling out his money. No, there's a reason. They fucked up the deal and they tried to do some okey doke shit. He's like, no, either it's going to be affordable housing across the board or I'm pulling my shit out. Y'all not finna sit up here and do a percentage of the houses is only going to be affordable. And then you got all this other shit that's going to be whatever. And then all that's going to make the property value go up because that's not helping nobody. That's not helping anybody. Yeah. So on that note, my darling honey, I'll see you guys later. I'm Big Meach, and this is the Big Meach moment. Ha.